Black Adam. Why did I watch this? I pretty much hate everything DC that isn't Batman related. I couldn't stand the Snyderverse. I don't like the DC heroes. I didn't collect the comics as I was always a Marvel kid. And I don't even particularly like Dwayne Johnson. I can't think of a single movie with The Rock that A, stands out in my mind, and B, that I enjoy. So my headspace going into this was pretty negative. I came out of it actually thinking that this was probably my favorite of this incarnation of the DCEU. The story is overly complicated as these movies always are. The Rock killed a bunch of people in the past for reasons and saved his country. Fast forward to the present and said country is being oppressed and exploited. The people believe in their stories and legends that their hero and protector will one day return. Spoiler alert, he does for reasons. And The Rock has to negotiate a fish out of water situation while dealing with the Justice Society, who are trying to take him down because he's straight up murdering bad guys instead of arresting them. And some guy who wants to become a demon and rule the country or something. It's all very messy plot-wise and story-wise, but like I said, almost all of these comic book movies are. Which is ridiculous because people like superheroes precisely for the simplicity of many of their motivations and stories. You don't need to get overly complex with this. However, Black Adam does, but I actually got a little bit more out of this movie than I would your typical Marvel thing, for example. There's a really interesting debate that goes on in this film, and that is it morally right for Black Adam to just murder the oppressors of this country? He shows up, kills them all, making him a literal hero to all of the people of his country. But the Justice Society believes they have the right to show up in his country and basically imprison Black Adam for the rest of eternity because he's, quote, just too dangerous, unquote. The film touches on some interesting topics, such as one point the main female lead tells Hawkman, look, you asshole, you haven't come to our country and lifted a finger to help us for decades. Get out, now, we don't want you here. And it's a compelling thing because this is a world in which Superman and the Flash exist, right? At any point, those heroes could immediately overthrow dictators and oppressors, but they don't because they ostensibly have to respect government boundaries unless the threat becomes quote-unquote global. But then these same people take it upon themselves to enter a sovereign nation's borders to apprehend someone that the people of that country don't have a problem with. So it's weird. It's this weird dichotomy of where these movies tell you, well, you know, if it's just a normal human dictator, we're not allowed to go in there and, you know, mess with another country's stuff. But if that quote-unquote dictator becomes a superpowered alien, then we can. Very strange. Now, the problem is this film doesn't dive into that stuff. It just sort of pays lip service to it here and there in order to get to the predictable spectacle of the finale. And that's disappointing because there is something here in the script, but you can tell a committee of studio heads just watered it down and said, hey, we need this and we need that, which, you know, kind of hampers the film overall. The Rock sort of plays against type here, which I did appreciate. He dials the charisma way down. He's basically just a stone-faced murderer in this. He doesn't really emote, or he's not like lifting his eyebrow and giving you rockisms or anything like that. There's this kid who I don't like to talk negative about child actors because it's not their fault. They are just kids after all. But this kid is really annoying on screen, and he tries to like John Connor the Rock and teach him one-liners, and it's just not funny. The Justice Society is just clearance rack Avengers here. You know, Dr. Fate, who takes off his helmet every single scene he's in. He's removing his helmet so you can see Pierce Brosnan's face. But Dr. Fate, he's just Doctor Strange. He literally uses the same powers in this movie that you see Doctor Strange use in the Marvel movies. Atom Smasher is just the filmmaker saying, oh hey, people like Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, especially when he turns big. That gets a good pop. So let's do that, but pay some actor scale because we can't get Paul Rudd. And the villain in this, one of the worst villains I've ever seen in a comic book movie. He's completely forgettable. That being said, the film did something right because I came out of it not hating it like I expected I was going to. Again, I think I was probably just getting a lot out of how I was rewriting this movie in my head based on some of the salient points that they gave surface level commentary to in this movie. And maybe the movie is better in my head, but I didn't hate it. So it has that going for it at least. I had a good solid time watching this. I'm going to give Black Adam a C+. Again, way higher than I thought I would give it when I went into this. It's worth a watch on a lazy Sunday afternoon. And that's more than I can say for most of this other DC stuff that comes out. So, yeah, give Black Adam a shot if you're bored.